What's going on, guys? We are back in action. This is the RPO podcast, your favorite college football podcast. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones. I got my man, TJ. What's up, TJ? Welcome back again. How you doing today?
Doing great, guys. Good to be here.
Man, and Ray, my man Ray. Everybody loves Raymond. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing great. Listen, guys, we said week 4 might be one of those weeks. And man, did they not disappoint. Week 4 was crazy. We got upsets. We got some great games that went down to the wire, some good close games that nobody expected. Man, we got a lot to talk about. So, guys, thank you for being in here. Make sure you go in here. Before we start, I want to make sure that everybody that is watching, make sure you please give us your comments. We like to have comments and interactions in here as well. So please put them in there. Also, make sure you're sharing this video so all your friends and family can check us out as well. So we do appreciate that. So let's get right into it because we got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about some games first. We're going to go right into the first game. Louisiana versus Georgia State. That's going to be, Georgia Southern. So, TJ, let's talk about it. What do you think about that game, man?
Well, that game-winning field goal is pretty crazy. I mean, that guy had missed the kicker, Nate Snyder. He'd missed 4 field goals going into this season, but lines up for a 53-yarder. He knocks it through. Great for that. Both quarterbacks, box score numbers, they looked pretty good. We talked about Shai Werts a little bit for Georgia Southern. He let go-ahead touchdown drive. Plus a 2-point conversion with just a couple minutes left. But then the Louisiana quarterback Levi Lewis, was able to put them in a spot to win. I believe Louisiana dropped out of the AP Top 25 this week after they were ranked for the first time in forever. Yeah, they were. They're 27th essentially now.
Yeah, they were 19.
Yeah. So they're out of the top 25, but they're able to get that another good close win. Good teams win close games, and that's what you saw right here.
Definitely. Ray, what do you think about this game?
I mean, I'll go with what TJ said. I mean, it was a good close game. The offenses both were good, but they were a little bit sporadic. A couple turnovers here and there kind of led to what the final outcome was. I mean, if you look at Louisiana was favored by 13 points in this game, so they did themselves no favor. So they don't belong in the top 25. So
No, I agree. It was definitely a close game, and there was some. It was, I think, altogether, offenses was kind of balanced. It was some good defense as well. Both teams got an interception. Running games were pretty balanced. I mean, King had over 100 yards with a touchdown from Georgia State. That was like their main person really dominating on the ground, but everything else was pretty balanced. Anybody got anything to say about that?
Yeah, like you said, TJ King had a nice game. I mean, touchdown, 100 yards even, actually. Wesley Kennedy is an all-purpose guy that actually has a nice game, few receptions, 105 yards receiving. So they did right there again. They just self-exploded every time. Every time they really couldn't do anything consistently on offense. So,
Definitely. All right, let's move on to our next game. It is Kentucky versus Auburn. Auburn put in some good work in there. I wanted to know what you guys thought about that. I believe we all picked Auburn for that. Yes, we did. Actually, we didn't vote on that one. Actually, I have to say it. Oh yeah, we did. We did. We all picked Auburn. So, what you guys think about that game? It was closer than I thought it would be. To be honest.
I guess I'll go first. So I was pretty impressed with Bo Nix at the end because we're waiting for that next step for Bo Nix, and we talked about it a little bit last week. It was a really close game. Kentucky got robbed of a touchdown right before the half on the goal line. The running back went into the end zone. The ref said he was down, even though they didn't really have any evidence that he was down. They said he was down. And then 1 or 2 plays later, Kentucky nearly throws a pick six. It gets called back due to a block in the back. So, a touchdown off the board for Kentucky. So if you put that on the board, the game's closer than it was. Regardless, Seth Williams, receiver for Auburn, at 112 yards, pair of touchdowns, and Bo Nix, against a good SEC defense, looked solid. I mean, he wasn't completely lining it up. I don't know how many games Bo Nix this year is going to have where, you know, he's going to have these gaudy passing numbers, but he was efficient. And, you know, Auburn was trying to rework the offense a little bit in the offseason to make it, you know, better suited for Nix and make him more comfortable in it. And I think they did a pretty good job.
Definitely. Bo Nix was 16 for 27 for 233 yards and 3 touchdowns. Ray, what do you think about his performance?
Like TJ said, had a nice, solid, efficient. I don't call it a good game, an efficient game. Threw the ball 27 times, completed 16. I mean, actually did some nice things on the ground too. So he's a pretty good athlete. Seth Williams had a really nice game, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he had a really nice game. Kind of like what I expected. I mean, in the end, Auburn covered the line. They did what they had to do. Again, if they want to be one of them teams that they can make some noise in the SEC later in the season, they needed to have a win like this against, like TJ said, a good, solid UK defense. We'll see how they go. I mean, I think Auburn has some game left in them this year. I think they can make some noise, but we'll see.
Definitely. All right, let's get to our next game. This one, all three of us got wrong. Louisville versus Pitt. This is actually one of those games I'll say I was pretty right this week about saying some teams might do some upsets, and I got a couple of them. I didn't choose them to win, but I said, make sure you watch this game. This is one of those games. Pitt beating Louisville 23-20. What you guys think about this game? I'm starting off with Ray on this one.
Well, I think that Pitt. I think I actually picked Louisville to win the game.
We all did, yeah. We all agreed every game last week, by the way. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Pitt actually covered the line, though. They were favored by 3. They won by 3. Pitt's defense is good. Patrick Jones had 3 sacks. The team had 7 sacks total and 3 interceptions. So their Pittsburgh's defense is good. They're going to be with something to be reckoned with by the end of the season. Their offense is inconsistent, though. We'll see. They're only going to go as far as their defense takes them, though.
What do you think, TJ?
Yeah, something that, I was thinking about when looking back at this game is that I feel like it might have undervalued the Pitt defense a little bit. It was supposed to be a warm day and always good for passing. I thought Malik Cunningham was going to be good, and he was awful. I mean, he was 9 of 21, 107 yards, 3 interceptions, and only 3 second-half points. You mentioned, Ray, the 7 sacks, 12 tackles for loss also.
Yes.
It's just it's just me undervaluing Pitt's defense, and I didn't quite realize how good it was. And they shut down a very good Louisville offense, and it will be their defense that takes them wherever they need to go.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think after Louisville had a really nice, impressive game last week where they scored a decent amount of points, they really seemed to struggle with Pittsburgh's front seven. Really did so.
Definitely. All right, we got our first comment in here. This would be Avery says, what's going on, Avery Collins? Avery Collins is our partner of Inside the Hashes. He says Pitt play very well. They can compete with every team if they control the clock. So this is actually what I was going to say. Are we underestimating the Pitt Panthers? Because right now they are 3-0 right now. Are we underestimating them, TJ?
In terms of what?
In general, I mean, they are a complete looking team.
Win team.
I mean, they're currently ranked, so
you want 3-0. Should we put the measuring stick? Should we get Clemson? When do they play Clemson?
All right, not that high. Come on, not that high. Ray, what do you think about these Pitt Panthers?
I don't know if we underestimated. Maybe we overestimated Louisville a little bit in this game.
That's another point from Ray.
Yeah.
That might be it.
Essentially, so from their defense obviously a lot stronger than their offense, and you need both sides of the football to really compete. So we think about this: if they play Miami, what would we think, right? Because Miami has been ACC, and we're just talking ACC right now, like Miami, UNC, like that step down from Clemson. So that's where I assume they would be going for, right? So you match them up both those teams have, notable quarterbacks, Sam Howell, De'Aaron King. We don't know.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's defense can play with, like Avery said, with almost anybody. Their offense against Miami, that's a 35-10 score. It really is. So let's not get too carried away.
For sure. All right, let's get to our next game. It will be Iowa State versus TCU. Another really good game. We'll start with Ray on this one. What do you think about that game, Ray?
I mean, I again, good game, competitive game. They pretty much stayed right on the line. The line was 2.5, 3. They won 37-34. Brock Purdy was a lot more efficient this week. Didn't do anything downfield like he usually likes to. Everything was like dinking and dunking here and there. Brees Hill had a nice game. Hall had a nice game. 11 rushes for 154 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he had a nice game. Max Dugan had an okay. Everybody, if you look at everyone's stats, they all did some nice things on offense. In the end, Iowa did what they needed to do to win the game, So.
Definitely. We all picked Iowa State, by the way, to win that game. TJ, I think we all thought it was going to be a close game. What do you think about how that outcome came?
Yeah. I think the score is a little misleading. TCU scored on the final play of the game to make it from a 7-point game to a 3-point game, and for everyone that had them at -3.5, that's tough. Anyways, Brock Purdy, he looked a lot better today. He averaged over 9 yards in attempts. He had a touchdown. It was mostly the ground game. Brees Hall had 3 of those touchdowns. Purdy, though, had one of the worst plays I've seen from a quarterback.
I was literally about to say that.
Did you guys see that play? He throws it. It was a fumble, technically. He throws it backwards.
He throws it up.
Defensive lineman and just walks right into the end zone for a touchdown. It's like, just go down.
I remember Josh Allen. Remember Josh Allen did that the playoff game last year. They kind of threw the ball behind him. I think he just saw a flash of one of his own teammates behind him. And I think Purdy did the same thing. I think he saw a flash as he was spinning, one of his guys behind him, and then kind of just reacted to that. He cleaned his game up a little bit, but he has a long way to go still before he played better last year than he's played so far this year. He did. So
definitely.
I would agree with that. And another thing is so I would essentially chalk this up as a 10-point win against TCU, which is solid and a nice bounce back for Iowa State after losing to Louisiana their first time. It's a little curious the fact they didn't even get any votes in the AP Top 25. Iowa, who hasn't played yet, has got more top 25 votes this week than Iowa State did. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, lost game last week and then came back this week in another close game. So
an overreaction to how badly they played last week.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess so, but okay. So I'm not so sure about ranking the Big Ten teams or Pac-12 teams yet, but
Brady didn't have his top target. His top target only had 5 catches out of 7 targets for 27 yards. Do you think he's still injured? I believe this is his first game back, if I'm not mistaken. And
Charlie
Kohler, yeah. He didn't have a good game at all, and that's his top receiver. So what you guys think about that? Did that kind of do that? You think not having him really fully there yet is hindering the offense a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. You got to have your best players for your offense to live up to full potential. But regardless, they still put up 37 points, so I would say they're going to be humming pretty well once he returns to full form.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about that, Ray?
I agree. I think Kohler's still not quite right from last year. Once he does get right, he'll be a more of an impact player. He doesn't seem like himself right now. But again, when he does, with the way Hall run the ball, if they can run the ball that way and protect Purdy, I think the Iowa State will be okay. I think that people are just way overreacting, and we did too. We were surprised by how they played the week before. No one who watched this guy play last year is not going to tell you that he really struggled that first game. But we'll see.
Yeah, he definitely struggled, but we'll see how he goes for the next week. Maybe they get more comfortable and get the ball rolling a little bit more, and maybe Kohler will have a better week. So we won't say we were ever no.
You would think though, with the way they ran the ball, that they would be able to get the ball to him a little bit more than they did. I don't. I think they were.
7 targets is still a good amount.
I think when they got ahead, they just started thinking, you know what, maybe we should just run the ball a little bit more if we can.
Yeah,
and they did.
Yeah.
So
lucky for them, they play Oklahoma next week.
Exactly.
That's a good game.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. All right, let's get to our next game. It will be the FIU Panthers versus the Liberty Flames. Every time I hear say Liberty, I want to say that jingle on that commercial, a Liberty commercial. But
Liberty.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna sing it because we're not sponsored. But thank you, TJ. Yeah.
I got you.
Hey, we're about to get sponsored now just from you singing it.
Yeah, works for me.
All right, Ray, what do you think about this game? It was a close one, 3-point game. Oh, sorry, 2-point game. What do you think about this game, Ray?
Again, another thing where Liberty did themselves no favor. I mean, they were favored by almost a touchdown and won by 2.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, their quarterback, Malik Willis, had a nice game. 24-30, 285, 2 touchdowns. Joshua Mack had a nice game, averaged 8 yards a rush and a touchdown. The wide receiver, JT Stubbs, had a nice game, 119 yards, a touchdown. Offensively, they played well. Defensively, nothing. So, and I mean, I like both of these quarterbacks. I think they both do a lot of different things pretty well. I love the kid from Florida International, Stone Norton. A great name for a quarterback.
It really is, though. You are not lying about that.
No, it is. But, I mean, again, he didn't really do anything, though. 9 of 13, 120 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They ran the ball like crazy, though. Devontae Price had 148 yards on only 13 carries, 2 touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. So, again, their offenses on both teams look pretty good. Neither one of them played a whole lot of defense, so.
Definitely. Yeah, so we all said that Liberty is going to win that game last week. TJ, did this game live up to the expectations that you thought it would, or not really?
Well, yeah, you mentioned Ray mentioned what was the spread was 10 points. I mean, I think the game, like we're looking at the final score. I didn't actually get to watch this game, but you just look at the overall stat. I mean, Liberty had 230 more yards. Total yards. They had twice as many first downs. They had over 15 minutes more time of possession. Like this Liberty was in solid control of this game the whole time, and it was solid performances all around. But in the end, the team that owned time possession, first downs, etc., moving the ball much more efficiently was the one that came out on top.
Definitely. All right, awesome. So we're going to get to our next game. I'm going to skip a couple of games just because time purposes. So let's get into the Miami FSU game. The only reason we're going to talk about this game is because Miami look like they might be a team this year. I want to know what you guys think about it. TJ, based on that sigh, I want to know what you think about the game. How are you feeling about Miami this year? The way they look complete to you?
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. I honestly don't know what's the bigger story about this game, though. The ineptitude of Florida State or how good Miami was. I don't know.
Both.
I can't tell you. I thought Miami looked great. Their defense played well. De'Aaron King, didn't light up the box score that much, but he was very good again. And Florida State was a disaster.
And me and TJ was kind of talking about this while the game was going on. I was saying, man, this team is so disappointing that I knew, I didn't see them being this bad, but I didn't see them being that much better from last year.
No, they're no better than they were last year. Miami's a team that seems like they're going in the right direction. I mean, of course, bringing in De'Aaron King was a huge deal for them. And we all have talked most of last year about how bad their quarterback play was. You bring in a guy that can actually play the position, and he's a plus athlete. I mean, he just adds a nice spice to their offense. So, yeah,
we got a comment here. FSU is bootay, so I'm gonna say it like that, bootay. FSU did not play well at all. What was you about to say, TJ?
I mean, James Blackman, he's 6 of 26 for 120 yards. Oh, they tried 3 different quarterbacks. All 3 of them threw an interception. I didn't even see how many sacks Miami ended up having in this game. 6 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. I mean, my goodness. Come on, guys. I mean, they recruit from the same state.
It was bad.
Like, my God. I know that Mike Norvell, this is only now his second game as Florida State head coach, but my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. Like, they didn't even look like they belonged on the same field. And Miami was the one 4 years ago that was like, where are we? And now, I mean, now they've somewhat found their footing. Miami is like wondering where they are. Now Florida State, it's like, all right, guys, I mean, you're one of the programs. You're not supposed to have years like this. You're not supposed to be blown out by 42 points on national television. I mean, what are you doing?
I think me and Jerome talked about it earlier. We were both hoping that Miami and Florida State would be a little bit better this year so that they can make this conference a little bit more competitive. And Miami has done it, and Florida State hasn't, basically.
They're the only 2 teams that can recruit with Clemson.
And you're right. Well, Miami's defense was good last year, but their quarterback play was so bad, you wouldn't have noticed it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking in like the terms of like resources and the ability to stand up to a team that leads the country in recruiting rankings year and year and year and year and year. And we know Florida State and Miami can do that. And Miami, they look good now that they actually have, continuity at quarterback and an electric player in D.R. King.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's get to our last 3 games. They are going to be the games of the week. And we got some really, 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 really good ones. We're going to start off with Texas versus Texas Tech. Came down to overtime, 63-56. Ray, that game was crazy. What do you think?
Again, too much offense for me. Nobody's hitting anybody. They're all skating downfield. I mean, it was an exciting game. If you like that kind of exciting football, it was great. I like a little bit more defense in my games, to be honest with you. I mean, we always get the same thing. Ellinger is a good player. We've all talked about. I mean, he only had 262 yards passing, but he had 5 touchdowns. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Texas's offense is pretty good as long as they can run the ball, and they did a nice job running the ball last week. So
definitely, TJ, what do you think?
Oh man, I thought the Big 12 eliminated itself from the playoff discussion this week. I really did.
I agree with that.
Your 2 top 10 teams. Is Texas still in the top 10? Let me look. Somehow they are. They should have lost this game. They were trailing by 15 points with 3 minutes to go, and got lucky, got an onside kick, scored a touchdown, got a 2-point conversion, then got a touchdown and stopped in overtime. I mean,
Yep.
Luck.
Favored by 18 and 1 by 7. I mean, that's alone usually will drop you in the standings. But
exactly,
some of these guys that make these polls up, all they do is pay attention to the score. They don't watch the game. They don't even watch the highlights. Okay, Texas scored a lot of points. Their defense struggled. They're good.
Just think about this. Ohio State got 4 first-place votes in the AP poll this week. That's all.
That's a lot.
They haven't even played yet. Anyways, I mean, Sam Ehlinger is awesome. This Texas offense is going to score so many points, but my God. I mean, they can't, it seemed like I'm going to give credit to Alan Bowman. That dude can sling it around. And Roderick Thompson was also really good as well. And Texas Tech is going to score some points this year, but I'm there may be like a 500 team in the Big 12, and
so
we're going to talk about Oklahoma in a little bit, but I was ready to just throw my horns down.
So this was the game I was telling you guys to watch out, because I told you guys this Texas Tech team has some ballers on it, and I said that this was one of those games. We all picked Texas to win the game, I believe. Yes, we all picked Texas to win the game, but I said Texas Tech is one of those games where you got to watch it because they are a good team, and they almost won it. And honestly, I think Bowman was the reason they was in the game and was winning the game, but he was also the reason they lost the game. He threw pick at the end of the game, and that was the reason why they lost it. And they was in prime position to win this. They had it 15 points, like you said. They got the onside kick and then went to overtime. I think Texas Tech, don't sleep on Texas Tech. I totally disagree with TJ. They're not going to be a 500 team. They're going to be a team that's going to be competing every game. And they got a pretty good game next week, or this week rather, which we'll talk about as well. Because they're going to be playing the team that we're going to talk about next, which is K-State versus Oklahoma. Man, oh man. That game was fun to watch. Oklahoma was up. Like, they looked like they was about to just blow them out 50-0, to be honest. I think they was like 14-17 at like almost halftime. And then K-State just chipping away. And then you just see Ratliff just getting more rattled. And then he didn't look good by the end of the game. Ray, what do you think about that game, man?
Well, 3 picks says a lot, man. Honestly, this is a game that was going to keep Oklahoma out of the playoff picture this year already. So,
I agree 100%.
You can't lose to a team like Kansas State. We know Kansas State has a reputation for scoring points, but you're favored in the game by 27 points. You can't lose to that team. I mean, it's a rivalry game. You could say, you know what? We only, like, if it would have been like Texas, only won, if you won by 7, you'd be like, okay, we'll let you slide, but you lost.
Yeah,
you can't have it.
I'm pretty sure also that K-State was missing about 4 guys, I think, in their secondary at least on their 2 deep.
Man, they was getting banged
contract
up.
Facing.
Yeah, they was getting banged up too.
Still, especially secondary, is thin, but my God, what a choke this was for Oklahoma. I mean, it was 35-14 in the second half. I mean, Oklahoma was controlling the game, and then Skylar Thompson and Deuce Vaughn are just marching up and down the field in that second half, and Spencer Rattler had a bad pick on his last drive. I mean, my goodness. Oklahoma allowed 300 yards in the second half, over 10 yards of play. They allowed a punt to get blocked. They had a punt blocked and then gave up the game-tying touchdown 2 plays later. I mean, I like we said, like, not go to the playoffs. Sorry, I don't want to watch you get blown out again. Sorry.
Definitely.
It's time. I'm good. Thank you.
Well, I asked Ray about this guy last week. Deuce Vaughn. He only got 8 rushes, but man, this guy looked like he can be something. He's a true freshman. TJ, I'm gonna ask you about him. What do you think about him? I think he's gonna be like a couple of years down the line. We might be talking about him in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, I saw he was the one who had that game-tying touchdown. It was about 35 yards, I believe he had, and he showed some speed. And the announcers were, comping him to Darren Sproles, who also went to Kansas State. So I believe I actually don't know how tall he is.
He's only 5'5".
There you go. That's why. So yeah, I mean, that's exciting stuff to watch and hard to tackle, and there's less to tackle.
Oh yeah. What you think, Ray?
Yeah, I mean, 129 yards and 4 receptions speaks for itself, man. Production. The kid's he's electrifying. You get the ball in his hands and in space and watch him go, man.
Yeah, so
again,
definitely look out for Deuce.
You can't be Oklahoma and let a guy just take over the game like that. I mean, he's an all-purpose back. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, and he did it. He definitely did it. And he I mean, again, limited touches and limited running, but the guy had some – when he did touch it, he was dominant when he was down there. So that was great. All right, let's get to our last game of the week, the biggest game of the week, LSU versus Mississippi State. We talked about this, right, in the offseason as well, with all the departures from LSU and not having Stingley last minute also hurt them a lot. TJ, I'm going to start with you. What do you think about this game, man? It was kind of what I thought. It looked like LSU was missing their guys from last year.
But it was fascinating to me to watch the new system work so quickly at Mississippi State. I mean, it looked like they didn't miss a beat. KJ Costello, fantastic performance, threw over 10 yards an attempt, 623 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Osiris Mitchell, their wide receiver, had an amazing game. Kylan Hill was electric as a receiver. He was their number 2 in receiving yards that game. He had this awesome wheel route in the third quarter where he just found himself wide open and scored a touchdown. I don't know if I ding LSU so much. They lost now. I believe they only had 3 people start on Saturday from their national championship team. That's a lot of people to fix in one game. And Mississippi State was obviously a little better than advertised in the new system, catching Coach O and, the Louisiana State coaching staff and players a little bit off guard. It was almost too easy. I mean, you had Costello make a couple of mistakes, threw a pick 6 early in the game, but otherwise he never stood down. He never sulked or anything. He just kept firing, and it worked. And I'm excited to watch Mississippi State this year. They look good.
The funniest part was Costello had absolutely no idea he threw for 600 yards at the end of the game. He was like, "What? I did?" He was shocked. Yeah, you threw that for that much. Ray, what do you think about his performance?
It was a good performance, man. But I'm going to be honest with you. If I ever want to play quarterback, I want to play for Mike Leach, man.
Exactly.
All over the field, man. He doesn't even care. Oh, you missed that pass? Don't worry about it. Next one will be fine. And he gets guys up, and I'll give him credit. They get receivers open all over the field, man. They do. So, I mean, it is what it is. Kylan Hill, who I believe that me and Jerome were pretty big fans of, thought last year, this is a guy who next year can step into being a really nice all-purpose type back, and he looked every bit the part this week. So, yeah, I was excited for Mississippi State. I was a little disappointed in how LSU played, though. I know losing Stingley probably hurt their defense a lot, but he's just a corner. Come on, man.
Definitely.
And I'm going to give Miles Brennan a little bit of a break. He gets to play Vandy this week, so I'm sure he's going to look a lot better against Vandy than he did against Mississippi State this week. He hasn't started a game since November of 2016, so let him shake off a little bit of rust. He didn't have a bad game per se, but he was filling some pretty big shoes.
He didn't have a bad game, but he wasn't Stingley good.
He was not.
He wasn't winning them the game either.
And the 2 picks, which again, Costello threw 2 picks too, but he had the 5 touchdowns, and and Brennan only had the 3, but the second interception was really bad, and it really put him in a bad spot. So
definitely. All right, well, that is for week 4. So we're going to get into the questions of the day. We're just going to ask one for today since we're a little late on time right now. What was the most impressive team to you for this week, and who hurt themselves the most? TJ, I'm going to start with you.
Mississippi State, biggest winners, beating a top 6 team on the road. First game with a new coach, new quarterback, new system. Looked like they'd been running it for years and years and had, didn't just get their quarterback to campus in June to run the system. Biggest loser, Oklahoma. You blew your playoff chance 2 weeks into the season.
Totally agree. Right?
I'm going to go with Miami, again, stepping up in their conference, showing that there is going to be a little bit of competition besides for Clemson and Notre Dame and North Carolina. You needed that 4th, and hopefully someone else will shake out and be a little bit better. And I agree with TJ. Oklahoma crapped the bed already, man. They're done.
Yeah, definitely.
I believe in my playoff picks I wrote for the Inside the Hashes blog last week. I said Oklahoma will put up a clunker this season, but not this week.
I
was wrong.
You know what? We also know
I don't think anybody's seen that coming.
If you lose a game down the road against a good team, they're a little bit more forgiven than they are losing a game against a team. Again, I always go back to, I know I preach the line. You're a 27-point favored and you lose the game. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. We've seen Other teams do that and never recover from it. And let's face it, unless you're Alabama or even like Ohio State and you're playing other top 10, 15 teams every week, you can't come back from that. You can't.
Yeah, not in the Big 12.
No, not in the Big 12.
The resume is not going to be good enough.
Because let's face it, the Big 12 is like the Big 3. Okay, let's be realistic.
I was thinking about it this week. Is the Big 12 even? Can we say the Big 12 is even better than the Pac-12? Like,
it's not.
Like what? I don't know what proof you could give me that it is. Like,
it's almost like the same conference this year.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you're telling me the best team in the Pac-12 won't go into the playoff and not get blown out by as much?
No.
Like,
there's
exactly.
You got to be able to play at least some type of defense. To me, to be a complete team, unless you're Oklahoma usually and you're out there scoring 50 points a game, you have to be a team that can hold teams down to like 20 points. Mm-hmm. If you can at least do that, to me, you're not a top 10 team. You're not.
Crazy. All right, guys, thank you so much for that. We're going to get into our Week 5 picks now. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about who we have, who we think is going to win. We're going to revisit this next week, see who got it. Let's get right into our first game. We're going to cut some of these games short again for time purposes. But let's do TCU versus Texas. TCU is the underdog by 11.5 points. Ray, who you got?
I got Texas.
Okay.
I'm going to take Texas.
All right, TJ.
I would take Texas. I would hope Texas defense is going to be a little bit better this week. They're obviously going to ride Sam Ehlinger because he's the engine that makes them go. I would take the plus 11.5, but Texas to win by a touchdown.
I agree with that 100%. I would not take Texas covering anywhere between 11 and 13 points, especially after what they did last week on defense again. But I would take Texas to win the game.
I'm going TCU.
Of course you are.
Texas. I think that Texas is riding that high. Oh, we still won. I think they're going to sleep on TCU again.
You know what, though, Joe?
Those Texas teams play hard against each other too. They do.
But I think if you're Texas, you should wake up and play TCU better this week. I do. So
I give you that. Exactly. I give you that. I think it's going to be a close game again. I feel like I don't know.
It'll be closer. I think it's going to be a lot closer than the 13. I have 13 in my pool. So I mean, but I would take Texas to. TCU is usually a pretty good team. I would take Texas to win the game, but they're not going to cover. If they win by more than 8 points, I'd be surprised.
Okay. All right. Let's get to our next game. We got Baylor versus West Virginia. West Virginia is 1-1. Baylor is 1-0. Who I start with? Ray, who you got in this game?
I got West Virginia. I think West Virginia's actually defense is a solid defense. People shouldn't sleep on their defense. It's pretty good. I think they're favored by 6.5. I think Baylor again has a whole new coaching staff this year. Going to take them a little while to get everything up and running. I think West Virginia will win this game. I think they'll actually win by like a touchdown.
Definitely. By the way, Baylor is favored by 3. TJ, who you got?
I'm not. I'd probably say West Virginia, especially since they're getting points at home. West Virginia looked kind of stagnant against Oklahoma State last week, but their defense has played better. Baylor's defense also played really well. So I think we might see a rare Big 12 defensive game, which I can't believe I'm saying, but
I agree.
I would say West Virginia to win at home.
Wow, yeah. I'm disagreeing with you guys so far. I'm going with Baylor this week. I just feel like Charlie Brewer will get it. So I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be a better game. I'm going with Baylor. Okay. All right, let's get to one of the better games. Kansas State versus Texas Tech. We was talking about this earlier. Texas Tech just lost one of their games. Kansas State just came off a great win. Who you got? Kansas State is favored by 2.5, and they are home. TJ, who you got?
I'll I'll probably go off the team that is coming off loss rather than coming off win, because both these teams coming off close top 10 games. Texas Tech lost, K-State won. Obviously, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of letdown with Kansas State, emotional high last week, and it comes pillowing down when you have to play Texas Tech. And Alan Bowman, we can't take away from Alan Bowman, played so well last week, and K-State has had problems in the secondary. They looked better, again, last week at the end of the game, but Texas Tech has been slinging the rock all around, and they're getting 2.5 points. So I'll take Texas Tech plus 2.5.
Right, what you got?
Everything that TJ just said, 100%. I think Texas Tech had
Kansas State is favored, by the way, not Texas Tech.
No, they're favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I said plus 2.5.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I agree with TJ. I think that Texas Tech is probably a little disappointed they didn't win last week, and they're probably going to win this week. And Kansas State, with an emotional win, I can see them being a little flat.
We are all on the same boat with that one. I can't go against Texas Tech. I can't backtrack what I said. I said Texas Tech is a better team than you think, and I think they're going to definitely win this game. So I'm taking Texas Tech by a touchdown. I'm saying it here. All right, let's get to our next game. We're going to go to Iowa State versus Oklahoma. Where is my line on that?
-7, Oklahoma.
Yes. Oklahoma's -7. So, Ray, what do you think about that game?
I'm going to take Oklahoma. I'm going to take because again, I think they crap the bed and they're done, but they're not going to want to think that. They're going to come out and play a more complete game this week. I think they'll win the game. I think they'll probably wind up winning a fairly close game though, 3-4 points.
TJ?
Yeah, spread's a touchdown. Normally, I would think it's a little higher, especially if they won last week, but it's not. So, Oklahoma should win this game. I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed if they don't win this game. That's all I'm going to say. Spencer Rattler, you can't be throwing 3 interceptions again. I mean, you can't, you're a Lincoln Riley boy. You're supposed to be
Did you see the last one? Did you see the last one he threw?
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible.
I mean, you just can't do that.
Very bad.
Yeah,
very bad.
So Oklahoma, I'm watching you this week. You better no more disappointment. You don't have any room.
Definitely.
You're out of the top. You might be out of the top 25 if you lose again.
Oh man, they have absolutely no chance if they do it again, especially 2 weeks in a row. We'd like to thank Remy for being on the chat room. We appreciate you being on here. He says, "Big
just
12."
Flip a coin. That is correct.
I agree. I do think Iowa State is a little bit more inconsistent with their play. They lost the first game. The second game, they was in a tight match. I don't see them winning this. I'm agreeing with you guys. So we all got Oklahoma. All right, let's get to our next one. Auburn versus Georgia. And I got to find my line for that one. Anybody got that one? All right, here it is. Georgia by 6.5.
Okay,
so,
that sounds right.
Yeah. So, Ray, I'm sorry, TJ, you go first.
Boy, okay, so JT Daniels is healthy for Georgia. They had a lot of confusion at quarterback this week, as you remember checking into that Arkansas game. Well, in Georgia, I remember seeing the score as 7-5. I'm like, what is going on here? So they had Stetson Bennett come in after Mathis for Georgia, and he looked at least competent at quarterback. They're able to, ended up beating Arkansas by 20 points. JT Daniels hopefully will look better, even better than that. Georgia has been looking for that, next step at quarterback, a step above Jake Fromm. Like, can you elevate us? And I think he's going to do a complimentary job this week, especially first game starting. Big thing is the defense for Georgia. They were awesome last week. I think they're going to be awesome again. So another point I'm going to make, Bo Nix, this is Bo Nix carry territory. You're top recruit in the country. You're one of the top, supposedly one of the top quarterbacks in the SEC. You're facing this awesome Georgia defense. This is on you. You've got to go out and win this game, right? Yep. And I don't think they do. I think Georgia's going to win.
All right, Ray.
I mean, I have Georgia winning too. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think it's going to be a really close game. But I think I'll take Georgia to win the game close.
Definitely. Remy said that he's taking Auburn. I think that Bo Nix is one of those guys that I'm very intrigued in this year. I think that he will be a better quarterback than he was last year. He showed a glimpse of that last week. I think he had 5 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. He looked really good in the playing. This is going to be a better defense. I'm going with Georgia in a tight one, simply because they got JT Daniels back. That's literally the only reason. Literally the only reason I'm going with Georgia. If he wasn't there, I would definitely take Auburn.
And Kirby Smart might be the best recruiter in the country.
Yeah,
to be honest, their defense is just stacked.
Well, he's like Brian Kelly, though. With Notre Dame, he's a better recruiter than a coach, to be honest with you.
Definitely. All right, let's get to our next.
What's that?
Said I could agree with that.
I mean, I think Kirby Smart is a really good recruiter. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I've never seen him win a big game.
His biggest mistake, he just let Justin Fields just walk out the door. I mean,
exactly.
Sitting right there under your nose, and you just let him leave.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because you'd rather have that system guy. Okay.
I'd rather have the guy who was second in the Heisman. That's who I'd rather have.
I mean, and Bo Nix is intriguing because he is a good athlete and he's a nice quarterback. Mm-hmm. But he's one of them guys that week to week, you just don't know what you're getting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, that is the most frustrating thing. Like, me and Jerome has been having this conversation for 2 years now. Mm-hmm. We both are intrigued by this kid, but every week it's something different. There's no consistency. If he were consistent, they'd be a really good team. But we don't know.
Remy said that great recruiter, average quarterback, wasting a lot of talent.
He does. He's one of them guys that and you know what it is? He coaches tight. When he's like I don't want to, like when Andy Reid was with Philly. When his game plan is working, man, he looks really, really good. But when he has to adjust somewhere, it's like the whole game plan just went out the window. You know?
Yeah. I mean, he's doing a lot better with Kansas State. I can't talk about him too much. Looking better. Right at the moment, he's looking better than our current coach.
I was just looking at an analogy to use. And let's face it, I'm a Donovan McNabb fan, but the quarterback that he has now is very special.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That's the difference.
Right. Let's get to our last game. Not a sexy game, but it is our last game. We're going to talk about North Texas versus Southern Miss. Ray, what do you think about that game?
What's the line in that one, Jerome? I don't have a line on that game.
1.5, North Texas.
You know what? I'm going to take North Texas.
Texas.
I don't really have a whole lot of reason why I'm taking North Texas.
I'll go with Ray.
Coin flip.
I'll go with Ray. I'll hope the coin lands on heads.
Well, they're favored by anywhere between 3.5, 4, so I'll take North Texas.
Definitely.
Every once in a while, Jerome has to throw a curveball at you there, man. Like North Texas, okay.
It's a close game. I wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
I bat left-handed, you, so when I get a breakable, I go the other way with it. Okay.
Their running back. I like their North Texas rather. Their running back, Torrey. I like him. We got to interview him. He's a good player. I think he's gonna ball out like always. So I'm taking North Texas. A little inside the hatches bias, but I think they're gonna win this. I think it's gonna be a close game, like it shows. There's a reason why it's only 1.5. Might be one of those games you might want to watch. If you don't have anything else to watch. So that's gonna do it for us today, guys. Thank you so much. We do appreciate that. Please, guys, if you haven't already, please get on our Discord. We do have a Discord. I'll put it on the screen right now if I have a chance to. Bam, right there. So make sure you join our Discord right there. We talk college football in there while the games are going. We do some, game analysis while we're talking in there and stuff like that. You can also check out our fancy podcast in there where the guys have mailbags each week. So if you have some questions for your fantasy, please go in there and ask the questions that you may need for your fantasy team. I might need to be in there because all my teams are garbage. I have one win on the season in 2 games. One win in 2 games, 2 teams. I'm doing so bad right now. I'm about to cry. So I'm gonna need all the help I need. So if you are in the same boat as me, please go into the Discord, check that out right there, and our guys would definitely help you out. Also, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you can find our podcast. You can go in there and check it out. Listen to all the players that we interviewed on there. A lot of players that we talk about. We interviewed a lot of them, so you can check that out. Support us just by listening. So all you have to do is just go in there and listen, and you support the company. So do appreciate that. And also follow us on Inside the Hashes. We have a lot of great stuff. We got blogs. So my man TJ have his blogs coming out with his college analogies and what games and his game predictions. So make sure you check that out on InsideTheHashes.com. We also got gaming now. We also got the player interviews that we're talking about on there as well, and all our other podcasts on there as well. So check that out, InsideTheHashes.com. So guys, thank you so much. I'm Jerome Jones. We got Ray Roberts and my man TJ. We're gonna see how these games go next week. See how all these games go. See who got it right. See who got wrong. I had to go against the grain a little bit this week because we all agreed last week. So I had to change it up and do something different. So thank you guys for getting on with us. We make sure you check us out next week. Every week on Wednesdays at 7:00. Thank you so much, and we see you later. Peace.